It's your girl, KV.
And Celine.
And we are back with another episode of the Hood Health Report. Now, today's episode, again, it's like once you get one article or one thing that sparks your interest, it's like everything just starts to flow after that. So with this one, I was initially moved to do this episode because of the show Supacell on Netflix. I saw the show and I was like, there's something there, because a lot of people, like, we kind of know what sickle cell is. We kind of know that it affects mostly Black people, African descent. But most people just know, like, from, well, I guess my time frame, T-Boz from TLC. She has sickle cell. Well, she has sickle cell and has lived with it all of her life, of course. And that's really like where it starts and ends for a lot of people's knowledge around sickle cell. So then there started coming news about treatments that are used as cures in the U.S. and the U.K. So I was just like, okay, so we're really getting somewhere with this. And I was glad to see the show come about to kind of bring up the conversation in everyday talks. Mm-hmm. Because, of course, I'm sure the research has been going on for years, but just to have the show to kind of facilitate that type of conversation.
So going off of what KV just said, if y'all didn't know or haven't seen, there's a show on Netflix. It's called Supacell, and it kind of shows like mutated versions of sickle cell disease. It's a genetic condition that may affect like your red blood cells, and even like what KV was saying, it just kind of gives you a little bit more awareness. Like, it raises some awareness around the disease and how it affects mostly, people of the African descent. They use superpowers in order to like showcase it. Really good show if you haven't already checked it out. I don't want to spoil too much of it, but yeah, definitely check it out if you haven't already and you're interested in learning a little bit more about sickle cell, but more like in an interesting way. Mm-hmm.
So with that, watching the show kind of had me like, okay, well, what are they not telling us? Because, it's like, it's really a concept we haven't seen before for our demographic. I can't really think of anything in general, but I feel like it might be a couple of maybe doctor shows where they kind of use something that may be seen as a disability or an illness, but then flip it to be, oh, but look how it's making this person so much greater. Mm-hmm. So to see it in Black people and with something like sickle cell, it made me put my ear to the ground a bit, and I did find some different articles where there's research going on about the powers of melanin. So this one isn't necessarily sickle cell in particular, but it does talk about how melanin itself can be used as a semiconductor in the biomedical field. Mm-hmm. So basically they use melanin to create these implantable devices that can work for the communications of the cell to get the growth of the healthy cells better. I saw that they're using this within Parkinson's illnesses and other things. So this would definitely be something that I can see us doing an episode on in the future, because right now you just see like a lot of scholarly articles and things where they're starting it up, so it's not really a whole lot to dig into. And then I saw, of course, when I saw different Instagram post about it, people were like, well, how are they getting this melanin? Yep. As if, they're going to chop off somebody's finger and extract the melanin from that. But no, they are actually using different fungi that produce melanin to use that melanin, and also something I didn't even think about, octopus ink. Yep. So octopus ink, you see how black it is once it squirts out, and it's filled with melanin. So easy way to get some of these biomedical engineering things going. So just something to think about and something to look at when it comes to melanin semiconductors. Right. I'm excited to see where that goes. Like you said, it's just right now a lot of like scholarly articles. So I'm interested to see what they're able to learn about it, and then where we're going to be able to talk about in the future. So, KB, onto another subject. Did you know that there was a sickle cell disease treatment that has been approved? approved where?
So there's a groundbreaking sickle cell disease treatment that has been approved by NHS in England. Clinical trials find one-time gene therapy exa-cel offers functional cure in 96.6% of patients. It's a groundbreaking treatment offering a potential cure for people in England living with sickle cell disease and has been approved for the use by the NHS. Like I stated, it's a one-time gene therapy which edits out the faulty gene in patients' own stem cells. So the NHS estimates that 50 patients, older children and adults with the severe form of the disease who are suitable for the stem cell transplant but without a matched donor will each receive a cutting-edge treatment. The clinical trials for exa-cel have indicated that the therapy can stop painful sickle cell crises, which occurs when the blood vessel becomes blocked, and researchers finding that it was a functional cure in 96.6% of participants who have received this treatment. The National Institute for Health Care and Excellence originally rejected the treatment in last March, saying it needed further detail regarding the effectiveness of the treatment. The condition is more prevalent in African or Caribbean families' backgrounds, and in England there's about 1,700 people living with the disease. For those, 4,000 are believed to be eligible for this new treatment. Sickle cell disease changes the shape of the blood cells into a crescent form, hindering blood flow, and people suffer or experience severe painful episodes which may require them to be, admitted to the hospital. Life expectancy for people who have this disease can be 20 to 30 years shorter than the general population. And the NHS remains committed to rolling out new innovative treatments to narrow the gap in healthcare inequalities and cutting-edge therapy that gives patients facing this severe sickle cell disorder the hope of a much brighter future, able to have a longer life expectancy and things of that nature. So that's all good news to me. I'm super excited to see that there are rolling out something that has been approved for them to, get some treatment. On to the next article. It digs a little bit more into another company that is working towards the sickle cell and treating it. It's called Vertex. It announced the CASGEVY reimbursement agreement for the treatment of sickle cell disease in England. So I just want to make sure that everybody kind of understands what sickle cell disease is. So if I do say SCD, that stands for sickle cell disease. So SCD is a debilitating, progressive, life-shortening genetic disease. Patients report health-related quality of life source well below general population and significant healthcare resource utilization. So most people who have sickle cell end up having to be in the hospital a lot more, and they have intense pains throughout their bodies because of the constriction of the blood flow. It affects the red blood cells, which carries oxygen to organs and tissues in the body. It causes that severe pain, organ damage, and shortened lifespan due to the mishap of the sickle cell red blood cells. The clinical hallmark of sickle cell is the The clinical hallmark of sickle cell disease is vaso-occlusive cries, or VOCs, which are caused by blockages of blood vessels by the sickle red blood cells and result in severe and debilitating pain that can happen anywhere at any part of the body. So sickle cell disease requires lifelong treatment and significant use of healthcare resources, ultimately results in reduced life expectancy and decreased quality of life, which reduce the earnings and productivity of somebody that might have this disease. It is worth noting that the mean of age of death for patients living with sickle cell is around 40 years old. Stem cell transplant from a matched donor is potentially an option, but is only available to a small fraction of people living with sickle cell disease because of lack of available donors. So what does this article highlight about sickle cell disease and treatment plans? They just announced that a reimbursement agreement with NHS England for eligible sickle cell disease patients to access gene therapy. The reimbursement agreement comes to the National Institute of Health and Care and Excellence, issue positive guidance recommending the use from the NHS. It means eligible sickle cell patients in England now have access to therapy following the prior agreement for TDT patients announced last August. The administration of the therapy requires experience in stem cell transplantation and management of hemoglobinopathies. Therefore, Vertex is continuing to engage with experienced hospitals throughout England to establish a network of independently operated authorized treatment centers to provide these services and treatments for people who have sickle cell.
So that was really cool to me because it showed, we saw where England was pretty much leading the charge on finding a cure, finding better treatments for sickle cell.
Right.
And it's like with the movie, they were based, you know.
I know, I was literally about to bring that up. I'm like, I love how they're in London and this is, you know, the research that they're doing over there. So I think it really ties all together.
And then, and not even in London, shortly after that, some few months later, I saw where they had did a cure on someone here in the States. Had you heard about that case?
Yes, I have heard a little.
So there's new gene therapy considered a cure for sickle cell disease being administered at the St. Louis Children's Hospital. So I was seeing where there was the first patient cured, and so I was like, wow, like this is real, right? This isn't AI trying to trick us and be some type of propaganda, so I had to look it up, of course. And this gene therapy is called Lymphogenia, and it was approved back in 2023. The process involves extracting the patient's own stem cells to genetically modify them into healthy hemoglobin genes. The patient then will go through chemotherapy, and afterwards they are reinfused with their own stem cells. So this was kind of cool because you don't have to take in so much, you know, medicine or foreign materials. You're using your own stem cells to cure yourself. So this article also goes on to say 1 in every 265 African Americans have sickle cell, which causes red blood cells to be abnormally shaped, causing blockages which could lead to organ failure. It also states that the life expectancy is at 40. I don't know why I thought it'd be different for the UK from US. I just thought it would be a little different. So to see that it was still 40, I was like, okay. And then I thought about, do I even know people with sickle cell? I don't think I've ever came across anybody with sickle cell personally. Maybe like I knew somebody in the school had it or something, but I was like, I guess I can't confirm or deny if I know people that lived older than 40. Outside of T-Boss. So this is such a revolutionary treatment that could increase quality of life, seeing that patients usually experience multiple blood transfusions and pain crises. In the article, it mentioned how they were so excited that they could have a better chance at life because they could barely keep jobs or couldn't go to college or couldn't do normal everyday things because of the sickle cell causing the pain and the fear of organ failure. They just stayed in the hospital a lot. So although they did state that the chemo was very, very rough on the patients and they weren't really used to that, and few of them said that they felt like giving up through the process of chemo because it was leaving them with mouth sores and things of that nature, so it was becoming difficult to eat and drink food. But they were all glad that they stuck it through because it was a whole new life on the other side. Several weeks after the process, almost 85% of the patient's hemoglobin was considered normal after starting at 0%. So that alone, you know, should have this at the forefront of people with sickle cell to have access to, because if it makes that much of a difference in less than a year, and you just have, like, you know, you don't have to go through chemo forever. It's something where you know where the end is coming. So the end of chemo. And
yes, clarify
that. But yes, I was just really impressed to see our medical advances within the sickle cell area.
Me too. I think that it's all great to hear. I'm excited to see, like, again, where this is gonna go, and like how they'll be able to like help so many people if possible, and then also just to like eventually learn a little bit more like how they'll do the pricing of it, and you know, because the biggest thing with people with sickle cell, from what I've been able to read and capture, is the quality of life, and then them not being able to sustain things just because of like the medical portion of it, or not being able to keep a job. So giving them that freedom back will be really nice to see, and then them being able to like have a better quality of life, be able to do certain things. I think it's really important and nice to, you know, read articles like this. So that is a little bit about sickle cell and why we chose to do this episode. Like I mentioned at the start of this video, if you haven't checked out Supacell, this is a free, you know, I ain't getting paid to tell y'all this, but y'all can definitely get on Netflix, and I definitely highly recommend y'all watching that show just so y'all can learn a little bit more about it. And if you are interested or have any thoughts and concerns, make sure to hit us up in the comments, leave a like and all that good stuff. We'll see you on the next episode. So this is a wrap for this episode. I hope y'all enjoyed it. You can follow us on Instagram, which is Hood Health Report, as well as Facebook and Twitter, Hood Health Pod.
We also have a TikTok page now, Hood Health Report. Follow us there.
Yeah.
Don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel. All of the links will be in the description.